Welcome to the next FitDoc Podcast. Topic at hand today is motivation and discipline and the keys to success. So I want to welcome back my good friend, Mr. Lance Schilling.
What's up, bro?
My man here. And so I've known Lance here for a while since my journey into, content creation and, our early days with the confidence journey. And we evolved our relationship into really kind of, doing something I think that most people can't do, right? And you've helped me kind of get this started, and having you when you first started with me to kind of help me do things I had a vision with, but now I've kind of brought it to fruition, right? And so I really value your friendship, personally. You've believed in me from really day one. You make me feel better than I really think of myself in many ways, but what I have always told friends that I know or people who look up to me as in mentoring is find people that are motivated and want to be better, and that is you, my friend. Like you have a very special innate gift in you, and that you're ambitious, you're driven, and you are going after it. So, and that's me. Like that's why we click so well, And that's kind of the purpose of this podcast today is really about motivation, discipline, keys to success, how to become more of a successful person in life in all ways. I've been very fortunate to have a great life, and there's a lot of things I've done and that I'm very proud of. Made some mistakes, but I feel like I've been able to kind of fail forward, as the cliche says. But this is really two guys that are very driven in their careers and very driven in life. And just two guys talking about what has helped them in their life to be successful. So
I would say this, man, you definitely haven't been lucky. You haven't been lucky. I would have to disagree with you on that. I would consider you one of my best friends by far, but you've never been lucky. Like every time I've seen your success, it's been something you've created out of nothing. I mean, like when we did the confidence journey, none of us had a clue what we were doing. Like we had zero clue what we were doing. It was just like an idea of like, hey, I remember, Chase had introduced me to you, and had told me like, hey man, this doctor's got, he really wants to do something good. He wants to be able to help inspire people. And I'm like, okay. Well, what can we do to inspire people? And then it started off with like, well, what about this? And what about a sponsorship? And then next thing you know, we're doing a year-long documentary where, it turned out great. But as your friend, I could not ever let you say you've had any success by like being fortunate. I mean, you're fortunate because the actions you took.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, man, appreciate the, talk about like my success and things like that I've been able to do, but you've really been a big inspiration. Like I've leaned on you a lot as a friend, and especially because I'm prideful, right? I don't trust people. I definitely don't think there's many people that I would ever say, oh, I'll reach out to this person for advice because I feel like I do it better than them. But I've noticed some things about you real quick. When you say something, bro, like you do it. Most people say something and then they're like, oh, it'll be nice. Immediately you're doing it.
Yeah. I think that's I call it manifesting. When you know who you are and you know what you want, and when you wake up in the morning and that's all you think about, where it keeps you up at night, and you see that ahead of what you can do, if you put in the work and you put in the time and you make the right decisions, you make short-term goals to that bigger goal, you can be unstoppable.
But I guess it's so easy to say that, and it's for people who hear it, like it's easy to hear it, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to manifest. They manifest it for a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 3 days. You and I talked about this, about a business idea you'd had, and part of the issue is just like people don't do what they say they're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And do you think that's a learned quality, or like what is it about you that you can wake up every day and say, I'm going to do this today. I don't feel like doing it today. I'm going to do it today anyway.
Well, that's the hard part, right? It really comes down to, I think, just discipline, right? So there's certain aspects, I guess, that you're born with. There's an innate quality to some people, and some people have it, some people don't. I'm not sure if I can teach it sometimes, I've trained a lot of people in what I do for a living, and some people have it, some people don't. Try to inspire it. Definitely I do my best to inspire it. But discipline is something that you got to work at, on a daily basis. You got to do it when no one's pushing you. No one's, telling you to do that. No one's telling you to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and exercise. And it's cold outside. You got to go run. Like, no one's making you do that. You have to make that decision yourself to do it yourself. And those are the special people, when you can make yourself do things that you don't want to do, knowing in the end it's all going to pay off. That's what makes you really, really, really powerful human being.
Well, I mean, you being a plastic surgeon, I definitely think, I really feel like for the most part, there's not many jobs that somebody could do that I couldn't do if I tried hard enough. For plastic surgery, I've seen you do a lot of surgeries. I could never do that. I just don't have that. I couldn't. But I think the most impressive thing I've seen you do is when you turn pro as a bodybuilder, because, and I don't mean to hurt your feelings or something. But you do not have the best bodybuilding genetics at all. I'm sorry, but you had to force that to happen. And I think that's why it's admirable to me, because you are you have some great gifts that make you a great plastic surgeon. Right. You obviously worked at, and you stayed dedicated. I could have done the same work you did, and I still wouldn't be any good at it. But watching you become pro as a bodybuilder, because I saw your first show ever. We did the same show. I was at that show. I was doing that show.
The Heath, right?
Yeah, Bill Heath. And you did it 2014, right? Mm-hmm. And I did it 2013, and I did it 2014. We were in the same class. Actually, I beat you.
Go figure.
Sorry.
Just started.
But you know what? You turned pro, and you did it without these. Bodybuilding is definitely you can't have a champion who doesn't also have incredible genetics.
Right.
You forced that to happen. You forced it to happen. I thought that was the most incredible thing I've seen you do as as your friend, and as call myself a mentee. I feel like you're a mentor for me.
Yeah.
That's the most impressive thing I've seen you do, because you forced it.
Yeah. Well, just like everything in my life, it's really about work ethic and just staying relentless. Just you see that dream, just keep working at it. Bodybuilding has given me so much, and it's helped kind of harden my personality and my ambitions and my drive for success. And that has really, really kind of just strengthened the discipline in me, at all levels of my life. The discipline, the discipline leads to habits, and the habits leads to consistency, and the consistency leads to success. And that, my friend, that is where it really, really kind of takes you to another level, is when you just keep growing on top of that, right? It keeps going. And, the bodybuilding really demands the most. And it's a very, very competitive sport. There's so many people trying to do the same thing you're trying to do. And it's always different. Every show is a little bit different. You have different judges, different people show up. And, I consider myself lucky in that sense. You say I don't have luck. Well, I got lucky. I'm going to tell you that right now. I got lucky on who showed up that day. And,
Yeah, but if that hadn't happened that day, you would have done it again. You'd have done it again.
I would have kept going, that's for sure.
But so I guess that's where most people stop, is they're like, oh, I went, I tried, didn't get it. It's not for me. And that's, I guess, where I've seen you be different, where you didn't have the best genetics for it. You have a full-time, very demanding career. You're a husband. You're a father. You've got a giant business to run, plus all these other things. And here you are jumping into a sport where you're not genetically gifted for that sport. I'm very genetically gifted for bodybuilding in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And it definitely comes pretty easy to me. And, for all those things to schedule-wise, work-wise, you have every excuse in the world, and they're all valid. Every one of those excuses are 100% valid. Mm-hmm. How do you get rid of those voices in your head?
Well, make priorities in your life, right? So, bodybuilding is a hobby for me. It's always been a hobby for me. I know my priorities. My priorities are my career, which is what ultimately drives my goals in my life and what I do on a daily basis. But during my competitive times, then I made adjustments in my schedule so I can accommodate the time required to do my hobby.
You didn't make adjustments, bro. You started getting up at like 5 a.m. Like I remember when Chris, your coach, was telling me about you eating.
Yeah.
Because eating's a difficult thing, you know, like as much as you were having to eat.
Yeah.
Like you forced it.
I wouldn't say I forced it. There's certain aspects of my career that I made adjustments to accommodate the time requirement, right? So kind of had the hours already kind of picked out in my head, and then I adjusted my career and my how many hours I worked in a day accordingly as I was in prep, you know, for 5 seasons. So, you know, the key to me was what's always very, very important is that I was never going to compromise my patient care. I mean, those are my number one priority. My hobby bodybuilding was not going to compromise me. I never felt I was ever compromised at any time, any day. You can ask Corey. I was always functional, you know, hangry, but, you know, I was functional. I did my job very well. Very proud of that. And I knew I felt like I had a good sense of what my limits were, to be all honest with you. You know, prep is hard. It's a very stressful thing, but really understood the value of being healthy and going through that transition. And I knew it was just a short-term thing. So, you know, at that time in my career, I was able to kind of make those adjustments to accommodate the demands of the bodybuilding competitive seasons that we did. Stressful, obviously, but yeah, we got it done.
You know, I think that because you're you're a very nice guy, very caring, you're very empathetic. People don't realize what a fucking savage you really are. I don't think that you realize that you're a savage.
I mean, are we? What's that cliche where they say it's better to be a warrior than in a garden, right?
Better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener in war.
That's right. I mean, man, that hits home for me, man. Like I am a savage. I want it all. I want to win, and I don't want to ever be in a situation where I don't feel capable of doing something. So I go all out. You cannot stop me knowing what I have and what I've done to get here. And then on top of that, I have a wife that supports me in my dreams and what I want to do. Man, you can't touch me. I'm coming.
Where does that savage mindset come from? Because you come from a loving family. What you've told me about, like your mom and dad, they were very caring. Yeah. You know, it's not like you were having to scrap for food, any of those things. Like you had obviously nobody has a perfect childhood, but you had a great childhood. Where does all that even come from? Most people, that competitive drive comes from like trauma, or they weren't loved enough or something. And yours, I feel like comes from like a healthy spot, but it's just as savage as anything else.
Man, I saw this thing on social media one time talking about this topic, and I think if you look at some really, really, we call savage people that are really successful, they take the naysaying and the ugly comments and, oh, you can't do that, and you put it on your shoulder, put it in a bag on your shoulder, and you carry that with you. That bag gets real heavy. Just makes you, it's just a constant chip on your shoulder. Like I was told another kid, I was a young Hispanic kid in an all-white school. I was like one of like 5. Not very many of us. They didn't talk well to me. Teachers didn't talk well to me. You know, I had an accent when I first started, school, and it was, my extended family. My dad was the youngest of 13. My mom was the second oldest of 9. Like, we were very, very stereotypical Hispanic, right? No one had gotten a college degree other than my mom. My mom had that chip on her shoulder. I want to be someone. I'm going to go to school. And my mom told me, like, son, you can do absolutely whatever you want to do. My dad told me the same thing. They wanted me to be better, everything of them, and put it into me, and then you can do whatever you want, son. You just got to work hard, and you can do it. It's all up to you, and we believe in you. And that to me carried me so far, that they believed in me, and I don't want to disappoint them. And that on top of, having teachers say things like, not purposely belittling you, but kind of made you feel like I'm not good enough. Put it on my shoulder. Keep carrying it, right? Was never the smartest, never the fastest. But man, you put me in a room, I am going to freaking outwork you. I will be that savage in the room working. And I'm just going to grind. And it's just a matter of just time and commitment and getting the job done. And then that took, years for me to get to that point where I finally, realized my dream and my dream career. And thankfully, I found my life partner that supported me and believed in me. That just made me even more relentless. But I think those people that are really, really successful have, really kind of have a chip on their shoulder. They've kind of carried weight when you really didn't need to, but you carried it anyway. or you've had some kind of lifelong trauma. I didn't really have like a lifelong trauma. I just carried negative comments, like doubters, the haters, right? Those kind of doubter hater comments, man, I love those. Tell me I can't do it. Please tell me I can't do it. I want another quote. Tell me that I can put in my head, put it on my shoulder, and just watch me do that thing that you told me I couldn't do. And so my next venture I'm coming into my career right now, got a lot of doubters. Man, I'm just so
you got a lot of motivation.
I was like, keep it coming. Like, I just love it. Like, you're just throwing more nitro into my tank. Like, just please give me some more, because I am not going to stop. I'm going to win, man. I've told you that we had a conversation about this before.
Oh, yeah.
But the things we're going to do here pretty soon, like, it's never going to be done before. We're going to be the first. And it's not going to be fair. And that's the point. Like, that's what I want in my life. It's just total domination, right? And I don't need to introduce myself when I walk into the room. That to me is pretty cool. Like, when people know who I am and I have a good reputation, and I'm not being mean, I'm not bragging.
No, you're known by your actions, not your words.
Exactly. But I want to be known for good things, right? I didn't step on people to get to that point. That it's really just hard work and just being relentless, to get to a successful outcome.
It's Tom Brady was kind of like having a talk about this, and he was saying that it was necessary for him to, even if it wasn't true, create an enemy out of the other team. Like, tell me something he said about one of the guys on my team. Tell me this, where now he hates that guy. Now I hate you. Now I want to come after you. I wrestled my whole life, and then obviously I've, fought and, for legacy and definitely it's a tough thing, I think, for a lot of people, because sometimes you'll hear that and they do it out of an emotional response. And that's almost like the difference between motivation and discipline, right? Motivation gets you going. It's like, like that spark that gets you there. Yeah. But you got to keep fanning that flame, right? And that's the discipline. So, whenever someone's like, they hear like, oh, this person said I couldn't do it. I'm going to do it. And they start to move forward, and then it wanes, right? And then it's like not there anymore. That like goal has to transform into something, and like, it's funny because, like, I've watched you do things out of, I won't go into any details of anything, obviously, but like things where somebody said something to, between us, and I remember like looking at you before and being like, damn, Doc's about to fuck this guy up, and I already knew, like, you're definitely the kind of guy that I would say, like, if somebody was going to go head to head with you on something, I'd say, all right, you might win a couple battles. But this guy is going to be here for the war. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. You got him this time. Maybe you got him next time. Maybe you get him 3 times, but he's going to keep coming. You'll never stop, It's
that Rudy mentality, right?
Yeah.
Just keep going. Yeah. Don't quit. Like, it's such a cliche, don't quit. And that's really what it is just don't quit. Keep going. Believe in yourself. Like, if I can tell you, anybody like out there, that, how do you become successful? Just believe in yourself and what you're capable of. But
let me ask you this, because on that note, like, I don't think that like you were able to find some successes in your life to build on, mm-hmm. right? And a lot of people, like, they live in this society where they've never been successful at anything, or maybe they've never felt, and I know that a lot of people use that gym as a catalyst. Like, mm-hmm. for someone who's they don't have any confidence right now, they're starting from level 0 and they're trying to build it. Like, what would you tell them? Like, if I came to you and I have 0 confidence, because you do this for people every day, and we won't go into all that because, but you do this for people every day. The women that you come in, they see you, countless of them, they feel awful about themselves. Mm-hmm. They don't like who they are, how they feel. And like, where would you tell somebody to get that first spark that gets them at least moving?
Man, that's a deep psychological conversation. I'm not sure I'm credentialed to talk about, but when you're at the bottom, you have to realize you can't go any further down, right? You have to look up. So look up, take a little bit, do a little bit every day, right? Get in the gym, go 10 minutes, go walk outside for 10 minutes. Next day, put some weight on your back. Do that for 10 minutes. Oh, wow, I can do that. Next day, go walk 30 minutes. Put some weights on your ankles. Oh, wow, I can do that too. And next thing you know, just little by little, you're building that confidence. It's just constantly kind of building confidence of what you can do. The mind can do so many incredible things. You just got to believe in yourself, and you can do it. I mean, why not you, right? Lance, we talked about that. Why not you? We all have the same, genetics as far as human beings, stuff like that. Different environments, obviously, but if you can put things together, do something with the hand, or think and sing, or just think about what you want to do, and then make it happen.
And we saw it with the confidence journey. We took two girls who never competed. They were definitely very opposite. One had to lose a lot of weight. The other one had a decent little base, just needed to build things, but hers was much more mental.
Yeah.
And we put them in this environment. But I think what really, if you look at, if you're looking back on it, it wasn't that we sat there and rah-rahed them every day. It was the fact that we set an expectation and we helped them continue to manage those goals forward. Mm-hmm. And, you saw both of them become, two-show pro, which is like, that's an unheard of thing in bikini or really anything, but two-show pro. The other one gets sponsored by bodybuilding.com, and you see that take place. And it was manifested by people who believed in them and talked them through it. How do you go about surrounding yourself with the kinds of people that are going to facilitate that mindset? Because I do believe that, we can do everything on our own, like for sure, but I couldn't have been as successful at any of the media stuff I did without you. I couldn't have. You've definitely been a huge person that pushed me through that. And because of that, us doing that together, I mean, the career I have right now, I destroy people. I'm a fucking savage at it. I know you are. But I couldn't have done that without that. And if I hadn't had you around me to give me confidence, and maybe you don't know what you did, there were so many times you gave me confidence when I didn't feel it. I knew that you had my back. I knew hey, this doesn't go the way I want it. This guy's got my back, and that's huge. I was very fortunate to run into you through business stuff. And like I said in the podcast before, I really thought you did not like me for the first year and a half. How do you go about creating that?
I think the people you surround yourself with is I think very instrumental in how successful you become. Who your friends are, I think, make a big difference. Those people in your inner circle, right? We all have friends, right? We have tons of friends, but who are your real friends?
I don't have tons of friends, Doc.
Most very successful people don't have a lot of friends. They're very, very, very close. I have very few friends. One of my best friends is my wife. And, and when you have people that you can trust, and they'll give you their honest opinion, right? And they want to see you win. I can't emphasize that enough. Winning alone is awesome, but when you're winning together with other people around you, bro, it's like a team. It's like a team, man. For me, I get so much pride, and I'm just as proud as your success as you are.
I know you are. Which, you know what, believe it or not, it feels great.
Yeah.
Do you know how happy I was the first time I got to call you and say, hey, man, I did my first month I ever made $100,000 in a month. Mm-hmm. And I've always been careful about telling people about successes, because in the beginning, I would win something or do something, and you would think people around you would be happy, but most people do not like to see you win. Mm-hmm. They see you do well, and it's the 48 laws of power, right? One of them is friends will be the first person to hurt you over an enemy.
Yeah.
Right. And so whenever we talk about how many friends we have, I can use one hand to count my friends.
Same.
You're definitely on that. You're on that list, obviously. You're one of the fingers on the hand. But I could call you and tell you that, and you weren't going to, you were happy for me. There was no jealousy. There was no any of this. It was hell yeah, Lance, I knew you could do it. And almost in a way of whenever I told you about it, we were in Hawaii the first time I got to tell you about it. The first time I ever hit over $100,000 a month. And it was I already knew you could do that. I'm happy to see it happen for you, but I already knew you were going to do that.
Yeah. And it's going to keep coming. That's what's crazy, is that, your success, as you get, more success, you just keep piling up, right? And And that's what I think successful people have, is they just have a core group of, really good friends that are also successful, and then they become successful together by supporting each other. That's really one of the secrets, I guess, to having like really, really successful, careers or whatever it is and they do in life.
I mean, even in your plastic surgery group, one thing that makes you guys really unique that I don't think a lot of people would put together is that you have how many plastic surgeons in your group? Like 9?
7 right now.
7 plastic surgeons. Whenever you look at most plastic surgery places, there's 1 or 2. And they're in it for themselves, each one, right? And that's like what you see really common. You have a practice of high level. Everybody in your practice, like I've heard you the way you talk about them, and you don't dish compliments out at all unless they're true. Like you're not a fair weather complimenter, and the level of respect you have for them. But the fact that y'all are all able to cohabitat and create something incredible together, right? I feel like that's such a testament to like your character and your confidence as a person.
Our practice is very unique. In plastic surgery, we're very, very, very unique. When I was looking again that my career started, I really looked for mentors and people who I saw as role models, to be the man I wanted to become and the plastic surgeon I wanted to become. And I had done a lot of research. I looked around. I looked all around the state of Texas. I didn't want to stay in Texas. And lo and behold, in Houston, Texas, there was this 3 amazing surgeons that had this great reputation, and they all sound like they're great men and leaders in the community, great reputations. And I heard they all had the same wives. I was like, wow, like I want to go meet these guys. And I always saw myself not just alone. I wanted to be in a group. I enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded men and or women around me, that we can cohabitate and understand that we're stronger together than apart. Like all 3 of those guys could be great surgeons independently, but they all realize like when they're together, they can do cooler stuff and get bigger stuff, right? Because you share, resources, and you have better things and better places of the city, and then you cohabitat, right? It's really like a den of lions, and I want to be a lion. That's exactly what I wanted to be. And I saw 3 alpha lions, and they were really good at what they did, but they understood that the family of the group practice was very instrumental of their success as a group. And then that kind of trickles down to the staff, right? The staff sees 3 amazing surgeons doing amazing things, taking care of the staff, and it just keeps growing. And I was like, I want that. That's what I want to do one day, is have a practice that's group practice. You have these amazing surgeons all working together. You have this family situation. You've been in our practice. You kind of see the family of it.
Oh, yeah.
And we're very, very, very special. We're all very talented in what we do. We all love our patients. We all like our staff. We all enjoy working with our staff. Our average tenure in our practice, I think, is 12 years. We have 122 employees right now. Largest aesthetic practice in Texas by far. And for me, like when I joined the practice, and that's why I joined them, because everything I heard about them was true. Like I want to be you guys. Like, when you retire, the legacy of our company is going to continue to live, and not just just maintain. I'm going to take it to a level that's never been seen before. That was my personal ambition for the practice, and then take another levels of the practice that had never been done before. Right, to have an own aesthetic fellowship, the mentoring, the teaching, and the education, the innovation. That the 3 guys are the foundation. I'm just going to build out their foundation, and then expand the foundation, but just make this unbelievable monster of a practice that is known throughout the country now, if not the world. We're known in the world. But my vision is to take this practice to a level that has never been seen in the country. And now we have it's coming together. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to do this, and to have great partners that I work with that are very like-minded in innovation and what this group can become in the future. And it's something that I really, really look forward to, building and inspiring other surgeons in the community to join.
That's something that you've talked to me a lot about, that I've learned from you, is I feel like for you, a huge part of success, or if you want to be good at something, is the ability to give back too. Like you need to get to a high enough level where now you can give back, you know, and I feel like for you being able to give back, like, you know, whether you're training surgeons, you know, other surgeons that come to you, these are already plastic surgeons and they're training with you to become a higher level, or you're flying a group of people to a poor place in Mexico to do a bunch of free surgeries for people that could have never afforded it. You know, like it's, I mean, I guess like what role does that have to play in success?
I mean, what defines success, right? You know, that's the question. What is success to you? Is it success in financial career, or, you know, family, or make an impact in the world? I don't know what it is. For me, like, you know, all that stuff you just mentioned, that to me is a personal thing of, I want legacy. I want people 50 years from now when I'm gone, you know, is that people remember, hey, Dr. Morales taught me how to do this in surgery. This is how Dr. Morales taught me. And then there's my legacy, right? I lived through them. You know, I've been training residents now for almost 12 years now, training fellows for 6. And I would like to believe my fellows and residents have said, Dr. Morales taught me how to do this. And then that resident asks them, well, why? And then they can answer why, because I told them why, right? We're the children that we're working with on our foundation trips, right? Those kids are forever going to be, their lives are changed forever. You know, those kids that we worked with earlier this year, would have never, ever had those surgeries ever in their life.
Never.
And they're babies. Some of them were babies. And we had such an impact. They were little minor reconstructive things that they would have never gone to the hospital and got those surgeries ever. They're just it's too minor. But in reality, the impact they had on their development was huge. And that's why I chose to do the more minor reconstructive procedures on these kids, because I could do more of them. I feel like I have a bigger impact because there's a need, right? And again, that me doing that is not because the kids will remember that Dr. Morales and his team came down this, right? I'm taking my fellows there. My fellows get this incredible experience to experience this, right? To be on a surgical mission trip and to see the moms and the dads crying because they know that their kids will have never gotten these surgeries ever. And to see the impact and to see it in their eyes and understand the value, why it's so important. And then maybe when they're, 10, 15 years in their career down the road, they start their own foundation. They're doing something similar, right? Giving back. There's one of the fundamentals of being a human being. I think you need to give back some way. One of the great, advices from Arnold, he says, give back. And I feel like I'm at a point in my career that I'm able to do that. And I try to do it in my own ways. And my ways are through education of future plastic surgeons, and then also in the surgical mission trips I'll be doing for the rest of my career.
Something that you'd said to me a while back, and I can't really pinpoint the day, but it just really stuck with me, is when we were talking about something, and you were saying you can't be just interested, you have to be obsessed. And
I love that word, obsessed, man. Obsessed. You can't kind of want to do it. You can't think about it every once in a while. You need to be obsessed to the point where you cannot stop thinking about it on a daily basis. When you're thinking about it all times, and you need to get to that point where you see that final vision in your dream, and when you need as much as you need to breathe, that is obsession, my friend. And then you become dangerous. Then you become a savage. And that is for me. There's a couple of things I've been obsessed about, and I still am obsessed in many ways in some aspects. But that is a key to my success. Is I'm obsessed in certain aspects, and I do it with passion. And you've seen that passion. You know when I get riled up, and you see when I'm talking about something, I say I'm gonna do something. What's gonna happen, Lance?
Oh, bro, it's happening.
It's happening.
No,
I don't tell you I'm gonna do something, I'm not gonna do it. And I think most people who know me pretty well, when I start talking about something and it's strategic, I'm kind of showing hints for something and working on things, but for me, it's a kind of a motivation for me personally to make sure once I vocalize it, and not just to myself, but once I vocalize to my wife, and I vocalize to public, to people, man, I am not stopping. I am obsessed to making that happen.
Well, I mean, that's where a lot of your confidence in your life comes from, in my opinion. My mom had told me a while back, I didn't feel like cutting weight for this wrestling tournament. I'd already qualified for state. I pinned my way through state that year. I already knew I was going to destroy these kids. And there was a tournament before, and I had said I would do it. But I didn't feel like cutting weight for that one, and I didn't need it anyway. And so I said, yeah, I'm just not going to do this one. She said, no, you said you were going to do it. I said, no, I told you I was going to do it. I haven't signed up for anything. She said, Lance, a man can never be confident without the ability to have confidence in keeping his commitments. You can never lie to yourself. And, and I watch you embody that. And there's very few people that I know that really live and breathe the shit they say. Very few. And, whenever I first met you, like, oh, cool, here's this plastic surgeon, cool, got a cool car, got a good looking wife, cool, and, I'd met other plastic surgeons before. One of my first jobs was in medical sales. So I'm in plastic surgery. So I'd met some before. And pretty quick, I found out, like, you're definitely not the same. And, like, just throughout the years of knowing you, every time, like, me and Chase, we're sitting there and you'd say something like, hey, this is what we're going to do. It was never like, hey, let's try to do this. It was, this is what we're going to do. And then next thing you know, like, here we are at Olympia backstage. Yeah. You're presenting the first place award at Olympia. Then next thing you know, it's, here you have partnership in a show with, freaking Sean Ray, bodybuilding icon. Yeah. Like, you just, like, I don't know how you're in your mind, your goal setting comes into play, but I do know that every time you've set a goal, it was one that was just slightly out of reach. It was there, but it was just slightly out of reach. How would you describe, like, your goal setting process?
I set small goals that most people don't hear about. The ones I vocalize a little bit, like you would say, they're kind of out of reach. Like, I remember telling something like a coach or something, like some personal trainer I knew in Houston, that, I was going to be at the Olympia this year. They're like, really? That's what they said. Really? Like, they didn't believe me. Like, yeah, I'm going to be at the Olympia this year. I'm going to be one of the presenters at the. Do you know how hard that is to be? Like, yeah, I know. And, again, you kind of take that comment, like, put it in the coin back on the back.
Watch me, bitch.
Exactly. I was like, oh, thank you. I just want to thank you. That's what I want to say. Just thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Now I'm not gonna stop. Right. So that's it's one of those attributes, I guess, personally, that my goal setting is, some are ones that you will never hear because I just don't think I'm ready. And I've had those conversations with you yet. Like, I have goals that y'all don't. I haven't told you yet because you're not ready to know yet. I'm not ready to. We're not there yet. Like, the ones you guys hear about are the ones I feel like are attainable within a finite amount of time at this point. So that's that kind of keeps me motivated, right? It keeps you going. You can't set these crazy dreams and goals in life and then just not be able to work at them. You really got to set small goals. Small goals. Make these small goals. You knock one down. And that goal gets you set up for the next goal. Knock that one down. And the next thing you know, you're doing these things that people really had no idea you could do. And that's really important to me, is hopefully, comes down to my kids. I really don't care what other people think. I don't care what people watching me on YouTube think of me. I don't really care. It's just really what my girls think of me.
It's funny you say that. And I know what you mean. Like, I don't care if you guys think that, like, my suit looks awful. You guys don't like my hair. You don't like this. That's fine. But I do know that you do care for, like, you want people to see something that you've done and not pat you on the back about how awesome you are. But, like, if somebody came up to you and was like, man, I saw that you had this car, or you just bought this, or whatever it is, you'd be like, yeah, cool. Like, that wouldn't matter that much to you. But if somebody came up to you and was like, hey, man, I was listening to something that you said, and it made me change my life, that would be more than if you made $100,000 that minute. Like, that would just be the ultimate feeling.
Very much true, man. Those kind of little things, it goes back at the legacy, right? So it's something I said maybe during this podcast that you'll remember. I heard this amazing thing on this podcast that Dr. Morales said. Man, that to me is that is legacy, right? And again, I'm trying to just inspire people. I don't think what I do is really all that special, but maybe to some people, I guess average people, I guess so. But really the people I care about are the people closest to me in my inner circle of friends and my wife and my girls, making them proud and making my dad proud and making my mom proud. Like that is my internal motivator at all things. Like, I'm trying to put on a freaking show, really for my dad up there.
I think that's why it's really important to set yourself up for the person you are, right? Well, you had talked about that before, and whenever you're like, I'm going to be a good husband, you have to think about like what that means. What does it mean to be a good husband? I'm going to protect you. I'm going to provide for you. Yeah. I'm going to be loyal to you. I'm going to respect you. And so like, whenever you make that your identity, if it's like, hey, I don't know if I feel like going to work today. Well, would a good husband do that? Yep. Or would a good husband put his ass on the line?
Right.
Like you're a good father. You're a great father, right? That's something that I've always really like watched and kind of, and envied with how you are and really take a lot of advice from. So like, definitely for me, I always think like, if I'm going to make a decision about something, would a good father do that? Would a good father not do that? Like, what would a good father do? And whenever that's like what you have in you.
Yeah.
I do think for a man, it's so important to be extremely selfless, because if you're selfish, you'll do what you want based off how you feel. But whenever you're selfless, right, and you're doing things for a greater good, your family or whatever, like, you're with the people who, I'll say this, man. I remember whenever the pandemic happened, right? And like we all do. And people were talking about companies laying people off and stuff like that. And I remember like knowing that you had to have like, the majority of your staff, like they couldn't come to work, right? Like and it seems like heartless. Like, oh, why can't y'all just sit there? It's like, well, for y'all to have a place to come back to, like if we don't have any money, nobody has any money coming in. And I remember knowing that how hard that was for you.
That was really hard.
I mean, I remember talking to you as a friend and calling you to see, hey man, how are you doing with that? And, and it wasn't like, hey man, how are you doing with the uncertainty? How are you doing with your own pain? It was, I know you had to make an extremely tough decision that affected the people because with your staff, you pour so much into them. The care that you have for your staff and really having these incredible people around you that you pour into is huge to you. I remember how I don't know if you want to use the word sad, but like you were extremely, like it was a tough moment for you.
Man, it was hard, man. That's our family. That was such a hard situation for the entire world, really. I don't know if we made the right decisions overall. I think every company dealt it differently, but for us, thankfully, it was a very short pause for us as a group. We were so fortunate, and I don't think a lot of staff really realized how fortunate we were, because we are the dominant practice in the city by far, and we're very fortunate to be in the state of Texas, where we were able to come back a little bit faster than the rest of the country, and we have a strong brand already, and we have strong surgeons, and again the value of us being all together and sharing resources and the financial aspects of it. We're able to sustain the storm a little bit better than independent practices. Independent practices, if you're there out there, like, 5 people in, like you're just kind of in this big ocean by yourself. You're literally on a raft by yourself. I had this big ship, right? And the analogy I say is we're on this big ship, big 60-foot, yacht, just amazing boat, right? And then we just had to put everybody in a little life rest next to the boat, just waiting to get back on the boat, because the boat had to be cleared to get safe.
Yeah.
That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
The boat's fine, right? But there's a little fire on the boat. We had to clean it up real quick. Let's clean it up. Everybody off the boat for a second. And then you come back on the boat. And that's what happened. And when that boat got back on the water, bro.
Oh yeah, it was always sailing.
Dude, that boat we went crazy. We went so much faster than everybody else. We grew so much faster. Like that. Those 2 years after COVID, man, we were just breaking records left and right, and that just goes. It's a big testament to the group practice and the family aspect of our practice, and I feel like we made the right decision in the end. We didn't lose anybody. We ended up bringing everybody back.
That's the test of a man, is being able to make a tough decision that nobody wants to make, but somebody has to make that.
Yeah.
Somebody has to make that, and that's all. It's discipline.
Yeah.
Like tough decisions are there for tough people, but also tough times, happen, but they don't last. But tough people do. Mm-hmm. Like you've been a testament to that. It's I've just really been impressed, like watching how you are, throughout all these years. Like you're a very unshakable person, and I've seen you when you get upset. I've seen you whenever you, maybe even if you feel nervous about something or any of those times. But one thing I always think is great about you is no matter how you felt, whether you're angry, nervous, happy, whatever, your actions never changed. Like when you can do the right thing during the wrong emotion, that's the toughest thing to do. And I just watch you consistently, just like, I feel this way or this happened, but I'm still going that direction. Yep, today's not the best day. I've got all this crap that happened. Yep. And then go, because, obviously if you can only do things during fair weather, a storm is happening. A storm is going to come. You have to know how to battle through storms.
Yeah.
Like you've been able to really battle through storms so well that I think most people wouldn't realize that, like, you have storms that come to you all the time. I won't talk about what happened recently, but you had a $350,000 storm happen the other day, and you had the bill. Like, how many people could say, yeah, there was a significant financial impact to me, and be able to move through that and do it in a way where, and we talked about this at lunch yesterday. I said, man, I really admired the way that you handled that, where most people would have walked in and definitely been angry, probably handled some. If I had that,
I was angry.
I know you were, but you handled it the right way.
I don't know, Lance. I don't, maybe it's from my upbringing, but my dad never really yelled at me. He never yelled at me. I got my spankings like any other boy did. Back then. I guess people believed in spankings, but my dad didn't really yell at me. What really got me going, and he never ever said this to me, and it means the world to me. He never said I was disappointed in you. Man,
that's got to be like,
yeah, those words right there. That would have just broken me.
Why would that be? I mean, I know why I feel like I know why it would be important, but like, why is it important to not disappoint? Like how, and how do you get somebody in your life that you don't want to disappoint?
This is an interesting. You talk to people around me, right? And if those people are close to me, you should, maybe Chase can do this interview. Like, how would you feel if you disappointed Dr. Morales?
I'll tell you this. Me and him talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
Me and Chase have talked about that because we have disappointed you before. I'll tell you what. I remember there was a show, and what's funny is it was out of our control.
Chase is over here laughing.
Yeah, he is. There was a show that was out of our control. We had done all the things that we were supposed to do to have the credentials. It was out of our control, but at the end of the day, the kinds of people that like we are, it's still my fault. And we had to go, but we got a fix for it. But the first thing is that whenever we looked at you, and you didn't say it verbally, but your eyes said, "I'm disappointed in you," and we both felt like it was like a dad saying, like,
yeah, it's a very powerful motivation thing. Like my staff, I'm sure my staff watch all my videos and stuff like that, but they say I have a look. Like, I don't need to say anything in surgery, and they know I'm upset. I don't feel myself doing these things. I don't yell at you. I don't say anything mean to you.
But you might as well have. I'd rather you yelled. I'd prefer you just yell at me.
I had situations with my residents. They were just being careless, and they made some, significant consequences that hurt my patients. And how do you deal with that, right? As a mentor, how do you deal with those kind of situations? Is it going to be helpful, like yelling at them, publicly yelling at somebody? Is it helpful? Is it really helpful? I don't think so. For me, it's always this fear of just saying something I regret. And, for me, teaching my residents, like, it's something that I really try to just calm down, right? And I let my body posture and my silence speak for itself. When I'm silent, something happened, I'm silent. Most people know I'm not happy about something. And that's kind of where this, my staff and people those around me know that, that I guess it's that disappointment, I hold myself at a very high standard, as you know, Lance. And I expect the same of those people around me, and those people that I depend on to have great surgical outcomes for my patients. You are held at my standard, and that standard will always be high. And if you're not part of that team to make that happen, then you don't belong to this team. So I feel like with that kind of mindset, I think people who are around me know that that they're not going to disappoint me as long as they're able to commit themselves to the process.
I think a big key factor that I know for me and Chase, it was always that I don't feel like it was difficult to make you happy. I don't feel like it was ever difficult to navigate, like, what does he want and making it happen. That part was, I don't feel like ever really difficult. I mean, do you feel like it was ever difficult? I feel like it was pretty easy. Like, hey, he said he wants.
I don't feel like I'm that demanding.
Okay. You definitely have high standards. You're demanding.
Am I demanding?
Demanding in the way that you do have high standards, but not demanding in the way that if the standards that you set are met, and they are clear. I will say this. You're good at being extremely clear about what it is that we should be at or where these standards are, which I think is a vital part of that. But I also don't think you set standards for somebody that's out of their reach, because one of the good things you do in leadership that I've watched you do, whether you do it on purpose or not, you don't put people in roles they're going to fail in. Like, you do a good job of placing people where they, like, planting them where they could grow. And the expectations of their growth that you have, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of discomfort, because there's no real growth without some discomfort. You're going to have to work at it and all those things. But I think you already know that the feeling that they're going to get when they push past that thing that they thought they couldn't do, or they get past that level, they just leveled up, is more than a paycheck. It's more than, like, that feeling of being able to believe in yourself and you watching someone that you pushed from, like, hey, you can do better than that. You can do better than that. You watch them level up.
Yeah. I find that very rewarding. Like, as you've seen that, happen, and you've seen that happen personally in my staff,
it's happened with me a bunch. Like, I've experienced it.
But, that's one thing I've taken away from, like, social media. One big thing I kind of listen to, like, motivation, stuff like that, being leaders, read books on that, and listen to podcasts on it, being a good leader, and to inspire people to be better people, and try to get better every day. And that's one of my models. Family motto, at least, is get better every day. I tell my girls that. You can ask them, like, what did daddy tell you every day when you were kids? Get better every day. Do something, get better at something every day. So, I kind of bring that into my practice and my staff around me. It's something that I feel that hopefully they recognize and understand that, with their, as they continue to kind of rise within the company or help me do better things, like, we're doing cool stuff together. Like, you're part of it. It's a team effort. I really do believe it's a team effort.
100%.
Like, I feel like I can't do a lot of things without my team. I wouldn't be able to give the patient care that I do by myself without the team around me, the facility that I operate in, the clinic space I have. Like, it is not possible.
But you lead by example.
Well, of course, leading by example is the fundamental aspect of it. The leaders. Leadership role and not comfortable in doing and replacing every position below them. Like, I don't respect that.
That's a boss. That's a manager.
That's, that there's one aspect of that in my practice I don't like. Like, if you can't walk into this room and do that exact same position, because I don't know, whatever reason, you can't do that position, then you shouldn't be in that position, in my opinion. So I pretty much can do everything in my practice. And I would say most surgeons here in our practice can do that. I take that very personally. Like, as a leader, you have to lead by example.
Who would you say would be like, you know, like as far as some of the motivational stuff or the podcasts or anything that you listen to, what would you like, who would be a couple of people that you would say these 2 or 3 people are people that you should definitely like follow for certain things?
Man, some guys I listen to a lot say some really cool lines, like Dana White. That dude, man, that dude has just keeps it real, and he understands. Like his latest line, one more very viral right now, is that our society today now, man, they're raising a bunch of, as he said, a bunch of pussies. Like you can have your kids have just a fraction of savageness in them, just gonna run rampant on this future society, just go crazy on them. And that's what I hope for my daughters. I'm hoping that my daughters receive, you know, get a little piece of me, get a little piece of Corey, right? And just take that little bit of drive and that chip on her shoulders and ambition and entrepreneurship and just that savageness, and they can just kind of feed it when they're young, and then have mom and dad kind of foster it and breed it and just kind of encourage it. My God, they're gonna freaking take over the world. And that's my dream, you know, to just have 2 future amazingly strong, independent, just savage women that I'm gonna be just enormously proud of. I'm proud of them already, but you know the potential they have to be like ridiculously savage in our society now, where everything they complain about everything. Yeah. They're entitled for everything. Like they don't want to work. I mean, now people don't even want to go to work anymore. They want to work from home, right? I don't understand it. Like the work ethic is gone. It just seems like it's going away in society. And I just feel like we don't have any sense of work ethic. I'm telling you, man, the opportunity is so much better than at any time in the, I think, previous like 3 or 4 generations.
No, I agree with you, dude. I mean, I see it with what I do every day. You know, like...
Yeah, you were talking about that.
All I have to do is be willing to show up more hours than somebody else, and then just be tougher. Like, it's not even a skill set thing. I guess in a way it's a skill set, but it's really just like it's just like working out, right? Like if you just
work ethic and just being relentless, Lance.
Yeah.
And you like doing it.
I love it. I literally love it.
That's the secret sauce, is when you like doing it and you get a personal reward of like just being a freaking savage. That is fun.
Yeah, but you have to get yourself. Yeah, you have to get yourself to that point where, at first, like for people, like it's like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? And I always tell people, I say, hey, make it super simple. Number 1, just be honest with yourself. If you don't really want it that bad, just be honest with yourself. You don't really want it that bad. Is there any kind of a book that you would recommend for someone? Anything that you've ever read, a book you've ever read that really impacted your life that you would say like, hey, this is something that you should check out?
You know what David Goggins is?
Bro, yes.
Dude, that book, man, is awesome. You should read that book. I mean, if you have never read it, you should read it. David Goggins, that dude is, he's the epitome of just being a savage. His story is just incredible to me. I love listening to the podcast. I love following him on social media. Read his book. Like, that dude is not normal. And he's an extreme version of motivation and discipline and, you know, almost masochistic to some extent. But his motivation and his mindset is just phenomenal. And, you know, you listen to him for like a minute or 2 in the morning and see how good of your workout you're going to have. Yeah. Who's going to pick up the boats? You know, he's a pretty impressive dude, but I enjoy his podcast, and I enjoy his book quite a bit.
There's a documentary, I don't know if you've seen it. It's called Just 1 Mile. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Bro, that mentality is the most gangster mentality. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the fastest. None of that stuff. You just have to be willing to do one more than the guy next to you.
Yep.
Just one more than the person next to you.
Amazing. Yeah. All right, there you hear. You got two savages talk about motivation and discipline, trying to get the best out of life. Hope you learned something. Again, if you like this kind of podcast, you have some comments or questions, you want to tell me what we did right, what we did wrong, and you want to hear something else, please, send it in the comment section below. Send me a message. Really appreciate you guys following my channel and following the FitDoc Podcast. Stay tuned for the next one. We'll see you then.